The abandoned castle stood like a sleeping giant beneath a gray sky. Cold wind howled through the crumbling towers, carrying the scent of damp stone and rust. Julian ran his hand over a tattered tapestry, feeling the fine dust dissolve beneath his fingers. The sound of dripping water echoed through the empty hall, breaking the silence. He shouldn't be here. The warning sign at the entrance spoke of the risk of collapse, but pulses on the radio, those strange signals only he seemed to pick up, had drawn him in. Ever since fragments of a distant melody began interfering with Los Angeles radio transmissions, Julian had spent nights adjusting antennas in the attic, convinced the answer lay beyond the stars. Now, however, the air thrummed with a more urgent energy. A low hum, almost imperceptible, vibrated through the castle walls, as if the stone itself were singing. He moved to the center of the hall, where a shattered stained glass window let in pale rays of light. That's when he heard a snap behind a column, and Diana emerged from the shadows, wearing the faded insignia of the Order of the Black Rose. Her dark eyes assessed Julian with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "You shouldn't be here," she murmured, unfurling a document sealed with purple wax. "But perhaps we can help each other." The manuscript, written in archaic Latin, described celestial coordinates aligned with the ruins. Julian recognized the symbols. They were the same as those he'd deciphered from the transmissions. Diana explained that the Order had been monitoring the phenomenon for decades, but something had changed. The signals, once predictable, now held a complex, almost organic harmony. As they spoke, a tremor shook the castle. Outside, the sky darkened abruptly, and a bluish glow pulsed on the horizon. They rushed to the courtyard and saw an aurora borealis dancing over Los Angeles, something impossible at that latitude. Crowds gathered in the streets, pointing at the sky, as cell phone screens captured the same melody Julian had recorded. The entire city seemed suspended between awe and fear. Diana pressed the parchment to her chest. "They're trying to communicate, aren't they?" she asked. Julian nodded, but his mind was already elsewhere. If the points on the document were correct, the next pulse would be stronger, and perhaps reveal what lay on the other side. That night, as they set up equipment in the castle's abandoned observatory, a hooded figure watched them from afar. She belonged to the same order as Diana, but her intentions were unclear. When the first chords of the cosmic melody echoed through the speakers, Julian noticed something strange. The frequency precisely matched the Newman resonance, the Earth's natural pulse. Diana adjusted the controls, and for a moment, the static gave way to sounds, or something akin to voices, chanting mathematical patterns. These weren't just signals. It was a conversation. And then, as quickly as it began, the sound ceased, leaving only the echo of a question. What would happen when both sides realized they were listening to each other? The bluish light of the aurora faded, leaving the Los Angeles night sky as opaque as before. Julian adjusted his headphones, trying to eliminate the persistent hum of the equipment. Diana unfurled the parchment on a makeshift table and began comparing the symbols with the spectrometer data. The hooded figure had vanished, but a prickling sensation remained on Julian's neck. Someone was watching them, someone who knew the meaning of that purple seal. The clock on the wall read 3 o'clock in the morning when the first clear fragment emerged from the static, a sequence of numbers repeating at precise intervals, like a heartbeat from another world. Diana drew a line between the coordinates on the star chart. "If we connect the dots, they form an equilateral triangle," she said, pointing to 3 marks on the document. The same pattern appears in 18th-century manuscripts. Julian frowned. "So this isn't new." She shook her head. "The Order always knew something was watching us. But the previous signals were different, less urgent." A cold breeze swept through the broken window, making the parchment pages tremble. Julian noticed burn marks on the edges, as if the manuscript had been salvaged from a fire. What happened to the rest of the Order? Diana hesitated. "They disappeared, one by one, after trying to respond to the first signal." As they loaded the equipment into the car, a black SUV pulled up to the castle entrance. 2 men in dark suits emerged, displaying their National Security Agency badges. "We're looking for a historian and a radio technician," said the taller one, without a smile. Diana grabbed Julian's arm. "Run," she whispered. "They can't get the parchment." The chase lasted minutes that felt like hours. They squeezed through narrow alleys, their footsteps echoing like drums. When they reached the graffiti observatory, Diana forced open the side door with a key hidden beneath a stone. Inside, beneath the Hale telescope dome, she revealed a crucial detail. The true alignment of the coordinates pointed not to the stars, but to a point beneath the city. As Julian set up the magnetic anomaly detectors, an alarm blared on the computer. A wave of interference hit the systems, causing the lights to flicker. On the screens, the numbers of the initial sequence began to rearrange themselves, forming ancient English letters. "You are not alone." Diana paled. It was the same message found in a 15th-century alchemist's diary, now repeated in binary code. Before they could understand its meaning, the ground trembled. Beneath the surface, something was awakening, something the Order of the Black Rose had sealed centuries ago. The tremor cracked the observatory floor, revealing a stone staircase descending into darkness. Diana switched on her flashlight, and the flickering light projected symbols onto the damp walls, identical to those on the parchment. Julian held the spectrometer, which hissed incessantly, displaying readings beyond any known scale. Underground, the air was heavy, laden with a metallic smell that burned the throat. Reaching a circular chamber, they confronted an obsidian artifact whose smooth surface displayed grooves pulsing in sync with the signals from space. Diana touched the monolith, and the walls began projecting holograms. Scenes of an ancient civilization negotiating with beings of light, treaties written in dead languages, star charts that no longer existed. "The Order of the Black Rose didn't seal them to protect humanity," she said, her voice trembling. "They tried to negotiate." Julian realized the signals weren't a message, but a warning. The mathematical patterns in the transmissions matched the calculations of stellar collapse in a distant galaxy. "They're running from something." A roar echoed above them. NSA agents had breached the tunnel, their flashlights sliced through the gloom. "Surrender and hand over the artifacts," one of them shouted. But Diana had already placed her hands on the monolith, which began emitting a deafening hum. The chamber ceiling collapsed, revealing the night sky and a spiral-shaped spacecraft hovering silently, its contours defying physics. Beams of light connected the ship to the monolith, and distorted voices resonated again, this time in every human language. "We are the archivists. You are next." Julian looked at Diana, who held the parchment to her chest, tears mixed with sweat. The agents recoiled in astonishment as the spacecraft began to suck the monolith into itself, like a puzzle reassembling itself. There was no time for answers. Only a choice: destroy the artifact and silence the warning, or let the truth spread. Diana raised the document, ready to break the purple seal. Julian grasped her wrist. "Do you trust them?" She met his gaze. "And you?" The ship's light enveloped them, and for a moment, all their questions dissolved into a certainty. The universe wasn't empty, but full of voices, some compassionate, others hungry. And Los Angeles, up above, continued to shine, oblivious to the abyss opening beneath its feet.